Hi, my name's Chance, and today I'm going to be talking about the game Sail. Sail is a co-op trick-taking game for two players, and I think the designers have done something amazing with this game. They managed to kind of remind me of that feeling that I get in other 2v2 trick-takers. A little bit of backstory. I'm from the Midwest, and in the Midwest, Euchre is kind of a big deal. So I played a ton of Euchre throughout high school, and this is a older 2v2 trick-taking game. Now, I would say that the trick taking itself, that was a fun puzzle, but the best part about the game was playing it with the same partner over and over. Over time, you would hone your skills together, and you would kind of sharpen that edge, and you would learn about that other player's play style. You would be able to play one card, and then they would know half of the information in your hand. And it's just that meta communication where you became this duo that's just in sync, where you were able to start playing off each other, and essentially it's kind of like you had one hand, you were just missing some information, and every time your partner did something, they were giving you more information for the round. Sail, for me, it's fully recreated that experience, and I think that's just a phenomenal feat. So let's get into this. Quick overview of Sail is that this is going to be a trick-taking game for two players where you're playing as pirates aboard this ship. Essentially, you're going to be playing tricks, and those tricks are going to be generally moving you forward on this cool diamond-shaped board, or doing damage to the Kraken. There's going to be two loss conditions for players. One is that you don't move fast enough. Essentially, there's a storm chasing you, and if you, by the beginning of round 3 and beginning of round 5, if you have not moved past the requisite spaces, the storm is caught up and your ship is sunk. The other way you lose is if you ever have to draw from the Kraken damage deck and there are no cards left, the Kraken's caught you and your ship is sunk. Overall, the core puzzle of this game is just a standard trick taker. One player is going to lead a card and their partner is going to have to follow suit. Now, the way that the actions work is that both players are going to have to play cards with a matching set of symbols. So essentially, if you want to move forward, both players are going to have to play cards with a wheel symbol. If you want to do damage to the Kraken, one player has to play a cannon and the other player has to play a tentacle card. This in itself creates kind of the core puzzle that you're trying to work around. You're trying to make sure that you win tricks at the right time to weave in and out of these islands and avoid hitting these tentacles, which will do damage to your ship during the round, and just kind of solve this puzzle together on what sequence you need to play your cards in to be able to move as far as possible while taking the least amount of damage. That in itself is a pretty interesting puzzle, but it doesn't capture that feeling of that team-based trick taker I was talking about. There are three things in this game that really help capture that team-based trick-taking experience. The first thing I'm going to call out is kind of standard across most trick takers, and that's the limited communication you get at the start of a round. So in Euchre, it's going to be telling the dealer to pick up or pass that card, and that's going to determine trump for the round. In other games, such as more modern ones, Cat in the Box and Skull King, that's going to be the players making a bid. So those are competitive ones, but essentially that bid is the just the limited communication that that player is giving to the rest of the table. They're telling players how strong or how weak their hand is for this round. And that, for a seasoned trick taking player, is a ton of information. In the game of Sail, the way this limited communication is handled is that at the beginning of the round, both players are going to pass one card to their partner. And in the beginning, that choice is just excruciating because you're like, I have no idea what to do. Now, as you progress through this game, I would say you start to think that the decision is easier, but then once these scenarios get harder, it becomes probably the most critical decision of every round. That is the part of the round that takes the absolute longest for us, is just deciding that one card to pass. Because if you pass the right card, that can tell your partner what half your hand looks like. And they will then be able to make the decision of saying, okay, I know what we need to do now. So this is that first part of building up that communication and kind of honing your skills with this game is that first card pass and just how much information can I communicate with just that one action. Now, the other part that really brings out that team-based trick taking is the round structure in this game. So, players are going to be dealt 9 cards at the beginning of the round, but you're actually not going to be playing out all of these cards to the end of the round. The round ends when one player has won 4 tricks. That means that if someone just goes crazy in the beginning and they just win 4 tricks straight out of the gate, the round will end immediately, and you're going to kind of lose all those extra actions you could have taken. Essentially, this is a bit of an action efficiency game, and you want to take as many actions as you can every round, which tends to be a maximum of 7. Now, so if one player wins those 4 and ends that round, that is going to be a lot of wasted opportunities, which means that you need to stay in balance with your partner. This is bringing up that thing I mentioned with that Euchre partner, like being in sync with each other. Like, I need to know when I should take control of the round. I need to know when I should pass the lead so I can dump some cards and rely on my partner to kind of take us in the direction we need to go. So this is that round structure really kind of drives home the need for that partnership and working together in this game. The last thing is going to be something that is specific to trick takers, and that's going to be playing offsuit. So in a lot of trick takers, it can be incredibly advantageous to be able to play offsuit. Essentially, in this game, there's 3 suits, and if you're missing one of the suits, then you don't have to follow that suit if that is led. And this game drives that home with these mermaid cards. So the mermaid is the number 9 card in each of the suits, and the mermaid action is only going to trigger off another mermaid. So that means that the only way to trigger the mermaid action is for one of the players to be off suit. So when I play down this mermaid card, I am hoping, or hopefully I figured out, that my partner can be at least off suit, and then hoping that they have a mermaid card they can play. The reason this is so important is because if you manage to pull off the mermaid action, your ship is going to dart straight forward instead of moving in this zigzag pattern. That's essentially 2 moves in one trick, which is incredibly valuable in this game. So those 3 things are what really kind of drive home that team trick taking play for me. And that right there is enough for me to recommend this game. Like, I love that feeling. I love working on that puzzle, and I think it is just an amazingly well done design. There are a couple other things to call out with Salem because this has a little more theme than a game like Euchre. One is that you are going to have some variability with these pirate cards. So at the beginning of the round, both players are going to be given a pirate roll, and essentially that's going to give you a special action for the round. Generally, these can be kind of inconsequential for the round, but sometimes they're going to be super valuable. I would say there's maybe some balance issues. Some of the pirates are definitely easier than others to use, but overall, I would say it's kind of fun to try to utilize these pirates and trigger their actions, even the ones that are going to be ridiculously difficult and incredibly costly. So that does add some variability to the game, which is a nice touch. The other thing that adds some variability is going to be the scenarios. So the base game is going to come with 6 scenarios, but the first one is a learning scenario. Um, and I think this is a decent amount of variability. Like it is a good number of scenarios, but my partner and I were able to work through these pretty quickly. I would say when we got up to scenario 5 and 6, those are the ones we spent the most amount of time on, and those ones definitely took a while to solve. But this brings me to the expansion content for this game. There is a kind of small expansion out there which will add another 6 scenarios plus some extra tokens to throw on the board that trigger different effects. And I think that this is a incredibly nice addition. It's just a little disappointing that you have to pay some extra money for this kind of small expansion that I wish was just in the base box, is I feel like that base box could have used that extra variability. So overall, I would say that if you already love Trick Takers, I think this one might be a hit for you, and that expansion, I do not regret purchasing it, and I would recommend purchasing it if you're the type of person that enjoys Trick Takers. The other I'll mention the deluxe token. So in front of you here, I have the deluxe edition. This just comes with basically wooden tokens instead of the cardboard shits. And overall, this does look really nice, but 100% unnecessary for the game. So you can definitely skip out on that if you wanted to. Now, the next thing I'm going to mention is going to be either something that you thoroughly love about this game or is going to be a deal breaker for you with this game. And that's the arc of Sail. So overall, this game, each scenario doesn't really play all that differently from the last scenario. It just becomes tighter and tighter. They kind of just tighten the screws on you and make it so you need to be more and more efficient with your actions. You need to get better at this game system. So every scenario is going to kind of hone your skills and hone that relationship you have with your partner and kind of just drive you into being brutally efficient in this game, which means that this trick taker is going to kind of it's going to have that arc of discovery and it's going to be really exciting, and then it's going to turn into, I would say, cold and calculating. For me, this isn't really a problem. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I think getting to that point has been an exciting journey, and reaching the point where I feel like my partner and I have solved this and we have our system, and essentially it's fun to just deal that out, work, go on the hardest scenario, see if we can get our system to work this time. But for some people, that's not very exciting. You're just gonna reach it and you're gonna be like, well, now we're playing the same game every single time, and we're just kind of we have a very programmatic set of actions. Like you pick up your cards and like, okay, well, I have to pass this card to tell you this information, which means we're gonna do this thing and go. And now we're just gonna play out a hand and be done with the round. Also, the other thing is that every your discard you can freely look through. So discard over there, and then if you hit your Kraken deck, you can also freely look through. There's only going to be a small number of hidden cards, which potentially will be seen with certain canon actions. But because the discard and the Kraken deck can always be seen, my partner and I would just we would just splay these out during the round, so we didn't have to dig through them all the time, and we'd be able to just see. So as the game went on and more cards were played, essentially we would just be calculating probabilities of the cards being in the partner's hand. We would just look at this and be like, well, that card's been played, that card's been played. There's a 6 and a 7 of green left, so the odds of me playing this 8 of green should be pretty high. So overall, it turned into essentially an open card counting game. And that might sound like a bit of a negative, but honestly, I think it depends on who you are. Like, that's the type of game that the partner I played with absolutely loves. Like, he loves that kind of determinism or deterministic nature of this trick taker. Whereas me, I 100% enjoy it and I will continue playing this. It's not my favorite. I might rate so Jackal and Hyde versus Scotland Yard is another co-op trick taker that I recently did a review on, and it might just barely edge this one out. And that's because that game, so Dr. Jackal and Hyde versus Scotland Yard, has a little more variability. Each chapter makes me feel like I'm playing a different trick taker. Like it's asking me to do something completely different than the last scenario. So every time that we think we figured out the game, like we reveal a new chapter and like, oh, our strategy for that last round is not going to work. Whereas Sail is, like I said, you're just going to be honing your skills and getting better and better at this system. But each scenario is not going to really be anything unique or new. It's just asking you to be better and better at this game. So, final thoughts on this game are that yes, I recommend Sail if you like trick takers. I will say that the partner I played this with, uh, this was his first experience with trick takers, but I had high hopes that he would enjoy this game because of his enjoyment of kind of the card counting, the deterministic nature of this, and it was a hit. So overall, though, I think that if you do like trick takers, and especially if you have experiences with things like Euchre and that team-based play where you have to kind of be in sync with your partner and kind of have that meta communication built up, I think this is a fantastic game. Now, if you're not super excited about kind of getting to that stage of that card counting and probability calculations, then this game probably isn't going to be for you. I think other trick takers like The Crew, or I've recently started playing the Fellowship of the Ring, the trick taking game. These ones are a little looser and have better intros into trick taking, and I'm still enjoying those ones. Although this one is definitely crunchier for me, and I like that crunch. So overall, thanks for watching. Let me know if you have different thoughts on this or different experiences with Sail. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.